All right, this is take two, believe it or not. This is the old man coming back at you with another rant. First, I have to say that there are a couple people who don't like that I address myself as the old man, but the way I see it, I know that there are probably several younger people who are out there who might be watching this, and they might look at me and say, yeah, he's an old man. So I kind of take that as a badge of honor. I also take it is that, before I was young and dumb, I mean, I wasn't stupid, but I was young and dumb. But as I grew older, I obtained some knowledge and some wisdom. So I'm going to try and put some of that to you. So today we are going to briefly talk about our First Amendment. Now, in particularly one part, but I'm going to expand on what the whole First Amendment is. The first part of the First Amendment is that it prevents the government from making laws that regulate an establishment of religion, which means they cannot tell you what to worship, or prohibit the exercise thereof, which means they cannot tell you how to worship. Of course, the big one, freedom of speech, the freedom of the press, which means that the government is not supposed to, I don't say they don't, but it's not supposed to prohibit the news outlets from telling the truth about whatever they're reporting. Now, we all know that if you read the news or watch the news, you could watch two different news networks covering the same story, and one is going to be conservative based, one's going to be liberal based, which it's not supposed to do. Walter Cronkite, who was a big liberal, everybody knows that if you did any research, but when he reported the news, it was the facts. The freedom of assembly, which means that you can assemble about whatever reason it is you're trying to do. Of course, the big one was the civil rights marches in the 60s, the Martin Luther King from the base of the steps of the Lincoln Memorial with his famous I Got a Dream speech. That was freedom of assembly. To the Black Lives Matter marches today. You don't have to like or dislike them. It's still legal. The right to petition the government for redress of grievances. So if you think that the government is doing something wrong, you can tell them. You have that right. Now, this was adopted into the Constitution on December 15, 1791, as one of the Ten Commandments that constitutes the Bill of Rights. Now, what I'm going to very briefly discuss is the one part of the First Amendment which most people think of when they talk about this amendment, and that's freedom of speech. We have the right in this country to say what we want, whether vocally or written on YouTube. You can put it out any way you want. You can voice your opinions on things. Unlike in some countries, you try doing that and you're putting out an opinion which is different than what the government puts out. You could either find yourself in political prison or dead. Or in some cases, you're put in political prison where you die, because that's how the government sets it up. But in the United States of America, you have the right to say if you see something in the government, a certain person, uh, whatever, you can say how you feel. I mean, you see it on Facebook and YouTube and all these other places all the time. Well, they're either bashing former President Trump or they're calling Joe Biden senile or whatever. You have the right to your opinion and you can put it out there. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is that you have to use common sense when utilizing your First Amendment right. While you do have the right to say what you want, if you try yelling fire in a crowded movie theater or at a concert or whatever, you're probably going to go to jail. And it's not because not because of your First Amendment right was prohibited. You're going to be going because you incite a riot because people are just going to hear you say fire and they're going to be running and trampling over people and somebody's going to get injured or killed or whatever. That's why you would go to jail. So when you utilize your First Amendment right, use common sense. Now, what I have seen over the years is sometimes what is happening is that people are utilizing their First Amendment rights, and some people are punished because of what they say, and some people can say something even more grievous, and they're either given a slap on the wrist or nothing happens. I'm going to give you two brief examples. Roseanne Barr, when she was still on the show The Conners, which was spin-off of her show Roseanne, and she's one of the main characters, it is known that she is conservative. And she voiced her opinion about a certain public figure, which I don't need to name, but she voiced her opinion and she basically compared this person to something which wasn't very nice. Because she was in an interview, and sometimes in the heat of the interview, emotions get to you, and sometimes you see things that you probably shouldn't. So instead of giving her a chance to come out and give a public apology saying, while I do feel this way about this individual, I shouldn't have said this in such a manner, they did not give her this option, and she was basically taken off her own show. They killed her character off, so there was no way she could come back. So in more recent times, you have Whoopi Goldberg on The View, which it is not the same show that Barbara Walters starred many years ago. It's a lot more political and stuff now, and it's not very balanced because you have 4 liberals and 2 conservatives. And so if a conservative tries to voice an opinion, the liberals talk over them. So a while back, you had Whoopi Goldberg, who basically said some disparaging remarks about the Holocaust, which shocked a lot of people. And she was giving a slap on the wrist, basically, and taken off the show for 2 weeks. In more recent news, she was calling Jason Aldean racist because of his song, Try That in a Small Town. And if you listen to the lyrics of the song, you know the song's not racist. It's basically saying, all that crap you're trying in the big city, try that in a small town, it's not going to happen because we stick together here. And how did Jason Aldean respond? Well, he did another one of his rights. He took her to court and she lost. And because she wasn't thinking, in both cases they were not thinking, and they said things they shouldn't have said, or they should have said them in a different manner. And Roseanne basically gets punished, and Whoopi didn't, except in this part she did because she played with fire. But when you're talking about freedom of speech, it's always good to think before you say what you want to say. Because even though it's your right that you can say how you feel, it's sometimes best to think about how you're going to say it, because it can still get you in trouble. So that's the point of this message here. There's been a lot of one side gets away with one thing, the other side doesn't. If you've seen my stuff before, you know what side I'm on, but it doesn't matter. I respect everybody's opinion to believe how you believe. If you don't agree with me, that's fine, but we can be civil. I welcome anybody's input on what I have to say on my videos. I'm always open for debate. I love a good debate. But don't try and be nasty or you'll be yanked right off of there. So while you have your freedom of speech to say what you want about my post, if you're going to be negative, it's going to be gone. If you can talk to me rationally, give me your opposing view. God bless America.